to all our viewers. You're watching Karan Singh VAAD-VIVAAD debate competition, broadcast exclusively on JUS Punjabi. I am your host, Ashmita. This debate program and competition stands apart as one where the candidates don't just compete to win, but learn the art of debating through the lens of Sikhi. As the debates carry on, you're hearing our talented contestants argue in favor of the resolution or against it, and then reversing their stances, following the Lincoln Douglas debate model. The resolution has compelled our candidates to dive deep into their training and values framework to make their case in front of our judges and live audience. And you, the viewers at home, you haven't just been watching along, but you've been voting to choose your favorites from every debate matchup. You can vote for your favorite debater this week as well by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Make sure to vote early as the results for the audience favorite from today's episode will be announced at the end of this episode. Now, before we get into debate 4 and the contestants who will be taking the stage, let's have a quick recap from last week's audience favorites. As you can see on the screen, Meher Dhal took the audience favorite vote as per the displayed margin. Now, let's get to business at hand. We are about to kick off debate 4. Let's meet our contestants for this week.
Hi, what's your name and where are you from?
I'm Rohani Singh. I'm from Apex, North Carolina.
How do you feel about the debate today?
I feel excited. I'm excited to learn new things and share my own perspectives and learnings.
Any big strategies?
Keep my eyes open, pay attention.
All right, sounds good. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Bucksheesh and I'm from Grafton, Massachusetts.
How do you feel about the tournament today?
I'm feeling very confident. I feel like I prepared well, so I'll do well today.
I know this took a lot of effort to prepare. How much time did it take?
It took me about 2 weeks to get my debate ready, so yeah.
Sounds good. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
So you've learned a little bit about who our next contestants are going to be. Now, please join me in welcoming on this stage our contestants for debate 4. Ruhani Kaur arguing pro the resolution. Ruhani, good to have you. And of course, arguing against Ruhani, against the resolution is Bucksheesh Jimenez. Bucksheesh, pleasure having you as well. Contestants, please shake hands. So we have our contestants on the stage and debate 4 of the quarterfinals is about to kick off. Ruhani, Bucksheesh, I want to know how you're feeling now that you're actually here. The podium's in front of you. Ruhani, what's your strategy to go from the quarterfinals to the semis?
Keep my ears open, listen from my opponent, the same amount that I try to emphasize my own perspective.
And Bucksheesh, how do you feel? You've made it this far already. Do you see yourself moving forward? And what's your strategy?
I believe that I could go far, I'm just going to do what I prepared, listen to my opponent, rebut, and, just do what I can.
Well, I wish you both the best of luck. Let's start debate 4.
Your time begins now.
Respected judges, esteemed opponent, and members of the audience, today we affirm the resolution. A Gurdwara is a place of worship for Sikhs. To uphold Sikhi is our greatest value, and it is without doubt that Naam Japna, the remembrance of Vaheguru, is a pillar of Sikhi. Worship in Sikhi is not confined to rituals or occasional prayer. It is the continuous remembrance of Vaheguru in every thought, word, and action. A Gurdwara exists to strengthen this remembrance through Shabad Bani, through learning, and through our Sangat. These 3 functions define a Gurdwara, and because they enable true Sikh worship, a Gurdwara is undeniably a place of worship. First, a Gurdwara facilitates Shabad Bani. Bani Guru, Guru hai Bani, which Bani Amrit Sare. The Bani itself is the Guru, and within that resides the nectar of wisdom. So, Gurdwara translates exactly to gateway to the Guru. It serves as a gateway and thus to Bani. Kirtan and Path, the recitation and musical meditation of Gurbani, fill the space. It embeds Naam Japna into every moment. Whether it's through our Ardas, Akhand Path, our prayers, our Hukamnama, every prayer strengthens a Sikh's connection to Vaheguru. This tradition has existed in Gurdwaras since Guru Nanak Dev Ji established Kartarpur, where Sikhs gathered daily to sing Kirtan and to reflect upon Gurbani. Today, this continues in Sri Harmandir Sahib and all of our local Gurdwara. So our Gurdwara's families and Granthis ensure that the Sangat remains immersed in the divine message of Gurbani. This occurs in moments of joy and in moments of grief. Since Naam Japna is our form of worship and a Gurdwara fosters this remembrance through Shabad Bani, it is a place of worship. Our Rahit Maryada also enforces that wherever our Guru Granth Sahib Ji is placed and revered, that place is a Gurdwara. Next, we see a Gurdwara as a place that strengthens learning. The importance of listening and contemplating Gurbani is emphasized in Japji Sahib. In a recorded katha by Bhai Satpal Singh Ji, we see that Japji Sahib teaches the significance of true listening. Suniye sat sant tok gyan, suniye achat ka ishnan, suniye pad pad pave man, suniye lage sehaj dhyan. So we know that to listen here means more than simply hearing. To listen means to intuitively grasp the essence of Bani. So then we ask ourselves the question, well, how do we listen? Guru Nanak Dev Ji answers this previously. He asks, Moh ki bolan boliye jit sundare pyar. What words can we speak to evoke his love? And the answer is given. Amrit Vela sach now vadiyai vichar. We see that in Amrit Vela, the ambrosial hours before dawn, to chant the true name and contemplate the Lord. So reciting and contemplating in a time where the rest of the world is quiet in Amrit Vela allows us this deep reflection and learning. Naam is what we must know, Vichar is how we achieve it, but it is only when we truly contemplate and think can we do that. So we've established that learning is pivotal to Naam Japna, and it is a Gurdwara that allows us to do that. Because the multiple functions of a Gurdwara serve kathas, like the one that I had learned from. Our Gurmukhi classes. Our current Gurmukhi school in Durham, North Carolina has more than 100 students in it, Kirtan instruction and libraries. Through learning, Naam Japna is transformed from mere repetition to practice. Then we see that a Gurdwara gathers our Sangat. The problem is that our human nature makes this difficult to attach the idea of Naam Japna. So our attachment to Maya, to ego, distractions, easily makes us forget Vaheguru. The solution is the congregation of devotees. The sins are eradicated. So a Gurdwara gathers our Sangat, and the impact is that only then do we see Naam Japna in the light to see that this is how a Gurdwara facilitates worship.
May I use my 3 minutes of prep time, please? Thank you.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Your time begins now.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I negate the resolution that a Gurdwara is a place of worship for Sikhs. My framework for evaluating this resolution is community engagement, which recognizes that Sikhism is not limited to individuals' spiritual practice, but encompasses a broader commitment to social welfare, education, and communal service. My first contention states that Gurdwaras serve as centers for social welfare. Gurdwaras are not merely places of worship, they are central to social welfare initiatives that benefit both Sikhs and the broader community. One of the most well-known examples of this is the practice of langar, the community kitchen that provides free meals to all, regardless of religion, caste, gender, or socioeconomic status. This embodies Guru Nanak's principle of equality and selfless service, ensuring that no one in the community goes hungry. As the Guru Granth Sahib states, recognize all humanity as one, Shri Guru Granth Sahib, Ang 1350. Beyond langar, Gurdwaras frequently serve as shelters for the homeless, centers for disaster relief, and hubs for charitable initiatives. Many Sikh communities have organized relief efforts during natural disasters, such as providing food and medical aid during the floods, earthquakes, or pandemics. Gurdwaras also offer financial assistance, employment support, and healthcare service to those in need, reinforcing Sikhism's commitment to seva. Furthermore, the concept of Sangat fosters a sense of responsibility among Sikhs to uplift those around them. As noted in a BBC article on Sikhism, Sangat plays a crucial role in the Gurdwara as it provides a community in which Sikhs can worship collectively. This collective engagement strengthens the social fabric of the community. The impact of Gurdwaras in social service aligns with community engagement, the framework for this debate. If Gurdwaras were solely places of worship, these humanitarian efforts would be absent, diminishing the role that Sikhism plays in promoting equality and compassion in society. My second contention states that Gurdwaras are educational institutions. Beyond worship, Gurdwaras play a critical role in education and knowledge preservation. They provide Sikhs with opportunities to learn about their faith, history, and cultural heritage. Many Gurdwaras host Punjabi language classes, Gurmat studies, and Kirtan lessons, ensuring that younger generations remain connected to their Sikh identity. The Guru Granth Sahib emphasized the importance of education, stating, "True education leads to self-realization and unity with the divine." Shri Guru Granth Sahib, Ang 356. Sitting together in a Sangat helps Sikhs deepen their understanding of the Guru Granth Sahib, discuss its teachings, and apply them in daily life. Gurdwaras also serve as centers for theological discourse, where scholars and religious leaders engage with the Sikh community to explain the significance of various scriptures and ethical principles. Moreover, Gurdwaras promote literacy and moral education by offering mentorship programs for the youth, guiding them in both religious and secular life. Educational outreach extends to workshops, guest lectures, and discussions on social justice issues, reinforcing the Sikh belief in standing up for righteousness. The accessibility of religious and cultural education in Gurdwaras links back to community engagement, as it ensures that knowledge is shared among all, fostering unity in a well-informed society. If Gurdwaras were reduced to mere places of worship, this vital educational function would be lost, weakening Sikhism's ability to sustain its values across generations. My final contention states that Gurdwaras promote interfaith and civic engagement. Gurdwaras are inclusive spaces that welcome people from all backgrounds, fostering interfaith dialogue and civic responsibility. Sikhism promotes the belief that all humans are equal in the eyes of Vaheguru, and Gurdwaras embody this principle by opening their doors to people of all faiths, ethnicities, and walks of life. The Guru Granth Sahib highlights this inclusivity, stating, "Come, O beloved Sikhs of the true Guru, and sing the true word of his Bani. Those who sing and hear his Bani with love, their filth and sins are washed away." Shri Guru Granth Sahib, 922. Historically, Gurdwaras have served as sanctuaries for refugees and oppressed communities. For example, during India's partition in 1947, many Gurdwaras provided shelter and medical aid to displaced individuals, regardless of their religious affiliation. Today, many Sikh communities continue this legacy by engaging in human rights advocacy, voter registration drives, and legal aid services. Furthermore, Sikh teachings encourage civic engagement and active participation in societal betterment. As Guru Tegh Bahadur proclaimed, no one should coerce with another to adopt a particular religion or ideology. Everyone has the right to worship freely. Shri Guru Granth Sahib, Ang 1429. This principle of religious freedom extends beyond worship and into public service, inspiring Sikhs to contribute positively to their local and global communities. Gurdwaras frequently host blood donation drives, environmental initiatives, and community discussions on pressing social issues, reinforcing the Sikh commitment to justice and equality. By serving as platforms for interfaith and civic participation, Gurdwaras fulfill a mission that extends far beyond worship. This directly supports community engagement as it ensures that Sikhs not only maintain their faith, but also work toward the betterment of society. I will now begin my rebuttal. So, my opponent stated that the word Gurdwara means gateway to the Guru, but this also shows how it also means that it includes everyone and includes anyone of different castes and religions, showing how it helps people come together in a Gurdwara and talk with each other and learn about, connecting with Vaheguru and spreading their knowledge based on Sikhism so other people can learn, which opposes her idea that Gurdwaras are only based on worship, and it also supports my idea of community engagement, showing how it engages other people who aren't, who don't know about Sikhism as much, so it helps them learn and provides more reasoning to my argument. She also stated that the Japji Sahib teaches true listening and grasping to people, but she also stated that it helps people learn and educate themselves more about Vaheguru, but this contradicts her argument because it talks about how it helps people learn, which is more based on education and how it educates people about Sikhism, which is different from what she said about worshipping, because so you can education is more pivotal. Sorry. Because people can focus on education more over worship. So different people, as I stated before, how Gurdwara means gateway, that she said, it can involve more people and more people can learn with how there are classes in a Gurdwara. And she also stated that a Naam Japna gathers Sangat through the Gurdwara. So this proves how the Gurdwara joins and creates a community in a Sangat, which contradicts her own argument by showing how a Gurdwara isn't fully based on worship, but it also proves how people can come together in a Sangat and talk about the Guru Granth Sahib.
I will now begin my rebuttal.
One moment. All right, your time begins now.
My opponent and I agree on many things. A Gurdwara is a substantial place. It's not just a place where we go to pray, but it is an area where we can meet with one another and we can uphold all the tenets that our gurus gave us. Naam Japna, one of them, yes, but so is to work hard, and so is selfless seva. And thus, where our main contradiction happens is what is worship in Sikhi? Well, our gurus tell us directly that worship is not just Naam Japna, but it also is Kirt Karna and Tavanchako. It's the idea that our worship is holistic. Our worship involves inclusivity. So then, what we understand is that worship is welfare. So yes, my opponent is correct that welfare is a primary function of a Gurdwara. However, because we believe in Sarbat da Pala, our worship is for welfare. We do our ardas. And in our ardas, what do we worship for? Sarbat da Pala, the welfare of all of humanity. And then what we also disagree upon is how do we worship in that kind of a sense? Well, what I know is that Naam Japna becomes our primary criterion here because Bina Naam sab gur hai. What we understand is that without the foundation of Naam Japna, our community engagement is not as prolific as it possibly could be. We can look at this through the Sakhi of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And when he went to visit in Dharampur, an Islamic priest, he told the priest, and the priest asked him, why were you not listening to our prayers? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji told him, well, you weren't even really praying. Rather, your mind was on your newborn cattle back where you live. So if you are not fully listening and understanding what you are praying, why should I listen to you? So what we understand from this is, yes, while our prayer and while our worship can be done in many ways, it is not anything without the foundation of our respect of Vaheguru and the meaning of the words in the Bani that we listen to. And so fully what we understand is that yes, worship is multifaceted in Sikhi. However, its root is in Naam Japna. And that is what makes all of our worship more inclusive. It makes it more impactful. It makes the welfare that we promote from it even larger. So overall, what we know is Prabhu ko simre sai parukari. Those who remember God generously help others. To remember God, Naam Japna, is to help others. And that is how we know that a Gurdwara ensures that Naam Japna is not just a belief, but it is a way of life. And that is Sikh worship.
And now we'll talk to Pro for the crystallization. Are you ready?
Do you need any prep time?
Yes, may I have
Yeah.
like 4 minutes of prep, please?
For sure. All right, ready?
Yes.
All right, your time begins now.
As we near the completion of today's insightful debate, we come with the understanding that a Gurdwara is, in fact, a place of worship for Sikhs. And the reasons is as follow. Because in this vast world, we are faced with many, many challenges that come in many, many forms. However, it is Nam Japana, a constant meditation and remembrance of God that keeps us on the right Siddha path. And this happens in a multitude of ways. First, it's by making us unshaken by getting the what, the bani. That is our instruction. Then we are given the why, and that is our learning. That is our, not only the recitation, but the remembrance and understanding why we remember. And then finally, we remain unshaken because of the Sadh Sangat, who we are with. And it is those three factors that allow us to fulfill all other pillars of Sikhi, that allow us to promote Sarbat Tapala and allow us to promote all other fundamental ideas. What we understand is above all else, to Nam Japo is the instruction that is given to us by our gurus from the very first dharamsalas and the very first Gurdwaras. And the reason for that is because when we try to promote the ideas that my opponent said of community engagement, of societal welfare, when we are given by the kirpa of our guru, the knowledge of our gurus, we can make that even more impactful. So all of us today must do exactly that. To keep our Nam Japo, to understand what our Bani says, but not only to understand it, but to implement it. Because our good Bani, our worship is not a ritual. Our worship happens everywhere. Worship, from its Old English term, means to acknowledge the worthiness of something. And because we believe that Waheguru exists everywhere, in every morsel and every atom, we worship all. We worship everything. We worship the world in which Waheguru has created for us. And it is for that reason that we say that Nam Japo, to know Waheguru, that is to worship. So overall, we have come to the conclusion that Nam Japana is the further criteria to which we can evaluate Sikhi and how we can promote the ideals our gurus have given us in our day-to-day lives. So my opponent, while correct in the statement that we as Sikhs have created a better world and have focused our Gurdwara as a place for worship through other means, those other means in fact create a better worship, the type of worship that our gurus intended for us. And that's why we affirm the resolution.
Yeah, can I take the rest of my time, please? I believe that I was able to win this case because I stated that Gurdwaras are not just places of worship, but centers of community engagement, fulfilling Sikhism's broader mission of social welfare, education, and interfaith dialogue. My first contention demonstrated that Gurdwaras serve as hubs for social welfare, providing free meals, shelter, and disaster relief, embodying Sikhism's principle of seva, and ensuring that no one is in need or turned away. My second contention established that Gurdwaras function as educational institutions, preserving Sikh teachings, language, and moral values for future generations, while also promoting literacy and awareness on social issues. My third contention proved that Gurdwaras promote interfaith and civic engagement, welcoming people of all backgrounds, fostering dialogue, and inspiring Sikhs to participate in social justice and humanitarian effort, ensuring they remain active contributors to society. The framework of community engagement ties into each contention as Gurdwaras actively uplift society through service, education, and inclusivity, rather than being solely religious centers reserved for private worship. By proving that Gurdwaras are essential to both Sikhs and global communities, acting as pillars of support, learning, and unity, I successfully negated the resolution and demonstrated that limiting their role would go against the very principles they are built upon. My opponent stated that her contention was Nam Japna, remembering Vaheguru. But we also must remember, and it is important to remember, that what Vaheguru has taught us is by doing seva and supporting others and helping them learn. This connects back to my framework of community engagement and how Gurdwaras aren't meant solely for the purpose of worship. The word Gurdwara itself has the word guru, which means teaching, and teaching others about what we understand and what we believe is important to help spread our beliefs and more knowledge. So but just solely worshipping at Gurdwaras is important, but we have to understand that there are many other concepts and things that intertwine with Sikhism as well. And that concludes my case.
It seemed pretty stressful in there. How'd it go?
It's good. I'm a little red, but it was fun.
Any tips for next contestants?
Yes, I think make sure that you're staying engaged and focus on your argument throughout the entirety of it. Don't lose sight of the main thing you're looking for.
And do you think you won?
I don't know, but I know I learned a lot, and Gyan is winning.
Sounds good. Good luck. You seemed really confident in there. How'd it go?
Oh, it went really well. I delivered my speech and I did what I could.
Anything to improve on for the next round?
Oh, I feel like I could improve on my note-taking skills and my rebuttal, but overall, I think I did well.
Do you think you won?
I hope so, yeah.
Sounds good. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, so I thought that was a great round. Really interesting. So one thing, as their coach, when I taught these kids throughout the semester, they would always ask, Coach, can we do this? Or what do we do if our opponent does this? What if we do if our opponent does this? And one thing I always used to tell them is, you are in this to win. We're in this for Sat. That's why we have this principle of Sat, because we're not trying to lie and manipulate. That's one thing that our form of debate does not do. But you have to take rhetorical strategies to win. And so sometimes debates, they're clean, neat, and they're just, one side gives their points, one side gives their points. But sometimes there's a kind of unique structure. So I, as their coach, saw, especially seeing, so many debates from these students over and over again, I saw a very interesting approach being taken by both candidates. And I just wanted to leave that with you all and to think about I wonder how you'll do your deliberations with that in mind. So, yeah.
Yeah, of course. This is definitely one of the most interesting debates I've seen today. The pro and cons definitely had really strong statements that they made. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Bakshish and Rohani did an incredible job. I think the cases were presented in a very strong way. So we have the pro with a very, very strong moral framework of Nam Japna. One thing the pro did very well throughout the debate is she continued to emphasize her moral framework and she continued to hammer it home. So there wasn't one speech she gave where she didn't talk about Nam Japna and why it was her moral framework. And that actually, I think, tied into her whole case. I think Bakshish also did a really interesting moral framework of community engagement. Sometimes with this debate, you'll see Manchakana, you'll see like other types of values, but he specifically chose community engagement so that he could compare all of his contentions back to that. So I think both of them, more than in any debate that I've seen, really emphasized their frameworks, which was really cool to see, and how they were both going back and forth.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think to date, even from the prelims to making it to the semifinals and quarterfinals, the quarterfinals, I think this is the strongest cases I've seen where the framework can be seen throughout every contention. So hats off to those debaters for really maintaining their framework with their contentions and providing evidence that can help support that. I think Romani had identified good money lines for every contention to share, and I thought that was very nice and meaningful. And I think Bakshish had examples of community service in different aspects and how that would come to really show the community engagement. I think another thing both debaters did really well is Rouhani was really good at delivering her speech. She had a lot of good enunciations, and then Bakshish was also very well organized in his contentions when giving his negative constructive speech. So I think they did a very good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rohani, I loved how she was just continuously just mentioning good morning, just constantly. I think everything she said always was backed up with some type of good morning. I saw a lot of Jamji Sahib. I think there was one that I specifically remember was Amritamilla Sachna Vichar, right? While that was not entirely into the idea of why Gurdwaras being specifically worship, it kind of promoted the idea of Nam Japra and how that kind of promoted the idea of the Gurdwaras being worship. But what I really loved was Bakshish when he brought up a lot of interesting things that I haven't heard all day. One thing that really caught my eye was the 1947 partition,
Yeah.
where where Gurdwaras used to provide stuff for both sides. So we're talking about Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs, all three of them, and that really like threw my mind off because like no one really brought that up ever, and that was like some new evidence that really like caught my attention.
But ultimately, I think the strategy here was like kind of like Azmi was talking about, like there's a very palpable strategy that Rouhani used ultimately. Basically what she did in her speech was she said, okay, well, how do we define worship? And I think that was really smart because when you define worship, that's always, for this debate topic, the thing that they go back and forth on. Do you define worship as just Bani? Or do you define worship as Seba? And oftentimes there's not a crystallized, okay, so then how should we define it in this debate? And so then what she did was she was able to say, well, and she said this specifically, every single argument my opponent said is true, but all of those things are actually part of worship. Van Japna, Girt Karna, Nam Japna are all part of worship. And then she said, but the primary mission of a Gurdwara is Nam Japna, and everything that we do with Nam Japna is not just about remembering, it's about acting. And so we can only act and serve and engage our communities with Nam Japna. So she was able to kind of rebut all of that with one argument that she kept hammering home continuously.
Correct. And I have noted here that she said worship is multifaceted but rooted in Nam Japna. So I think that really tied it back to her case and especially her value framework as well. Yeah. So I have that circled here for the flow, and I definitely flow that through the round. So I think that really helps tie her entire case together, especially with her framework.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it really just, I feel like it really deconstructed Bakshish's argument because many of the things that he was saying was absolutely like excellent, out of this world.
Yeah.
But she really kind of took those ideas and claimed it as hers.
Yeah.
And said like,
yeah,
well, they all actually fall under me.
Yeah. I think I completely agree. The one thing I do wish for both speakers is I think one trend I've seen in the debates today is that there's not a super strategic use of the final speech, like the crystallization speech. I think that's the real opportunity to tell the judges why and how you want. And so I think there was a lot of repetition of the argument that didn't fully hammer home. So one of the things, like I think Rouhani did try to hammer home saying all of these elements are part of, you know, the idea of worship, which means to see the worth in everything, which means that everything is worship. And then she later connected that back to Nam Japna as being part of worship. But there was a real opportunity there for Rouhani to be like, well, my second contention was learning. And the rebuttal my opponent offered had to do with learning. But she didn't really bring out her second contention, although it was there and proven very well. And then for Bakshish, he spent like the first, I think I counted minute and a half recapping his case. And then when he tried to rebut, he was basically just saying, my opponent brought up Nam Japna and then talked about a little bit about his response and kind of brought up teachings and learnings again, which was strong. But I do think if both of them could have used that speech to say, this is my argument and this is why it carries through, that could have been a bit more beneficial for them.
I think it would also be nice if like they really identified the key voters, like definition of worship is a key voter for this debate. And then additionally, like the role of community and Sangat, like, so just highlighting like the key points that they're actually flashing on and summarizing that in the crystallization would be great. We have their contention. So, you know, it's good to refresh, but we've been taking diligent notes and we have that. So I agree. There's just like a little bit of extra flavor that they need to add to the crystallization to help bring it all together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we have a decision?
Yeah, I think we do. I think, yeah, do you want to do the honors?
Sure. Did you want to talk about speaker points as well?
Yes. Okay. Honestly, I would give, together, what do we think we want to give her? I would give her a 9.
Okay.
Yeah, she's well spoken.
Yeah.
Just really said everything just on the spot without hesitation.
I agree.
And then Bakshish, yeah, he was on the spot too, but you know, there were stutters here and there, but like relatively still really high score. Like nothing really low compared to, you know, like nothing that's like not considered, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, you know, low level, I guess. I don't know. It was pretty good.
I'd give him a 7.
And give him a 7 as well.
Me too.
Perfect. All right. I'll take notes on that.
One of the big logical fallacies that we make in everyday thinking, and even in this debate show, is this idea of false dilemmas. We think that there's only two ways to do something. This is also called a false dichotomy. So when you'll see in the debate resolutions, debaters will either affirm or negate a resolution. That doesn't mean, and this is something I've told the debaters, there's not only two options in the world. You can always take, there's multiple options. When you negate something, you're only negating a very specific part of that resolution, but there's other options and alternative paths we can think of. So don't get stuck into this idea that there's only two options we can think of. We can either go this way or this way. Well, there's another way we can go. Maybe there's a way we can compromise and get both together. Don't be kind of limited to the two options presented by your opponent. Think outside the box and think about other options that are available to you as a debater. And this applies to real life as well. When even people of authority give you two options, you're not limited to those two options. You should be able to think creatively, find solutions, and this is a good tool that kind of can help you in your overall life in general.
Welcome back to the VAAD-VIVAAD debate competition brought to you by JUS Punjabi in collaboration with Nishkam TV. For everyone watching at home, you've been following along and voting for your favorites. Our contestants are delivering their strongest debate performances and the judges are taking note. Now, before I get to the official winner of the debate, let's see who you voted for in this week's matchup for the audience favorite. And I'm happy to announce that the winner of Debate 4, audience favorite, is Ruhani Singh. Congratulations, Ruhani. The audience loved your debate style. What do you have to say to them?
Thank you so much. But Guru's Kirpa, I've been given such a lovely Saad Sangat, and I appreciate the support you've given me.
And now we get to the final event. You've been following along for 4 weeks now, and you've seen all the behind the scenes, the practice, the prep, the nervousness, how the excitement has built week after week. But today, we announce the winners of this number 4 debate. And I might remind you that the debates that follow this debate will have our contestants swap roles and argue the opposite side. But for debate 4 of the competition, the judge's decision for the winner is... Drum roll, please. Ruhani Singh. Wow, what an exciting matchup. This wraps up our debate for this week. Thank you for watching. And remember, we will be back next week with the second half of the semifinals. From next week, our contestants will have to reverse the stance which they have previously argued. It will be interesting, to say the least. Until then, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write to us at ashmita@justbroadcasting.com or info@justbroadcasting.com. This is Ashmita signing off.
I'm Upkaran Singh Pogal, a tech professional and real estate investor. Like many people, I used to think the only way to build wealth was by working hard at a 9-to-5 job. That all changed when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The book opened my eyes to the power of investing, how real estate can create passive income and long-term wealth rather than just relying on a paycheck. I realized that building a portfolio of properties was a way to create financial freedom and gain control over my future. So I dove into real estate investing, and let me tell you, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Investing is key to securing financial independence. Whether you're looking for side income or a long-term strategy, real estate can make it happen. I'm passionate about giving back and teaching others how to get started on their investing journey too. So, if you're interested in learning more about real estate investing, feel free to follow me on Instagram and shoot me a DM.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. This is Harman Singh, Executive Director of the Sikh Coalition. For more than 20 years, the Sikh Coalition has worked to reduce hate, violence, and discrimination experienced by the Sikh community. Nationwide, we work in the court system, in policy, in education, community development, and media and communications to raise the Sikh profile and build a new future for Sikh youth. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.